Deefa, you're next, mate.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious how you play the game, like locally. I don't think I've seen you mention your setup, if you just use the normal keyboard, mouse, like typical 1 to 5 Q to T configuration, or do you do anything special there?
Super different. I have a super different setup, and I'll actually boot up Path of Exile to mention it, so give me a sec.
Sure.
Okay, while you're doing that, do you have any thoughts on the GameSpot PC Game of the Year 2003 winner, Path of Exile?
Yeah, sick. Path of Exile has been getting so much coverage recently, and you know, like people say, GameSpot's gone downhill a little bit recently, but it's still a very, very good thing to see happen. And the amount of like front cover of magazines and like Steam up on top of Steam and GameSpot's PC Game of the Year and other. There's been another one recently announced today, I think it was, where it was like most, you know, something MMO, like alternative MMO style game, whatever that means. But just all of this sort of stuff is awesome and super deserved. People are starting to realize and talk about how sick this game is, how actually amazing it is, like what ZiggyD have done and how good they're doing everything. And it's pretty awesome to see that start to get recognized. Like there was recently Total Biscuit saying even that, just, you know, this game is amazing, rather than people saying that, you know, this is kind of like a low budgety sort of game or something like that, like they were in the past. Now people are starting to realize, wow, this game's actually pretty fantastic. But I'm in game now, so here's my setup. And try and follow along. Maybe try and follow along by looking at your keyboard and seeing where you put your hands. And this is actually something that's happened over a long time of optimization. It started off in Diablo, and I've carried it through to Path of Exile and improved it here. But basically, Panic Flask is spacebar. You know, you want to be able to mash that whenever it happens. So I've rebound pretty much everything. My skills are 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have one skill on mouse button 5. Left mouse click is move only. Always bind that to move only. If you're binding that to an attack, you will die from that. Some builds maybe can get away with like Leap Slam or something on there, but I always, pretty much every character I have has move only on left click. Middle mouse button I just use for auras or something supplementary that doesn't get used too much, because I feel like using middle mouse button too often takes a lot of control away from in terms of mouse movements. And right click's generally like my main AoE attack, with 1 or something being a mobility and things like that, but that doesn't really matter too much. Just 1 through 4. Now, instead of shift for hold position, I've rebound that to tab. So what that means is, put your hand on your keyboard, put your pinky on tab, and then your other 3 fingers on 1, 2, and 3. How comfortable is that? That's like the natural position of your hand. Yeah? Yeah? Everyone? Anyone?
Yeah, that's pretty comfy.
Yeah, yeah, and then your thumb's like leaning, like just gently caressing the spacebar. And if you're in panic, you know, you're instantly going to be able to use that spacebar panic heal. Now, move your pinky up 1 button, the tilde key. That is my Quicksilver Flask key, or more recently the Quartz Flask, because those flasks are sick when you put adrenaline on them. But and then, you know, you've got your fingers on the other keys. You can reach across to 4 nice and easily to use that sort of skill. I usually have something like a decoy totem or a curse on that, and the rest of the other 3 are ones you need to use all the time. And then my 2 healing flasks, generally depends on the build, but 2 healing flasks are on Q and W. So basically, you pop your ring finger or whatever it is down 1 key to press Q, and then your middle finger down to press W. And then I have S, which is your pointer finger, just sort of curls back on itself, presses S, and that's usually like a granite or something like that. And I think that's pretty much everything else. I have like the mini map, the overlay map on B or something like that, so I just reach up with my thumb above the spacebar. And that's my setup. It's certainly very different from default, but I'm very happy with it. It's all about avoiding that hand strain.
Just to see how people configure their local setups, because I mean, a lot of people online who stream seem to have the typical setup, and
yeah,
I just find
too.
it rather unwieldy having like the 5 buttons and then the 5 buttons. But yeah, no, that's a very different one actually. I haven't heard of that one before. So nice.
Yeah, well, the thing about action RPGs is the way you're playing is your hands not moving around a lot. When you're playing something like StarCraft, your hands all over the keyboard, and that's really good from like a hand strain point of view. You're actually kind of stretching your muscles and moving around and stuff, as long as you're doing things right. You know, you're not going to hurt yourself. But with action RPGs, you're playing for a few hours and your hand's not really moving. So if you're in a contorted sort of position, like having your pinky on shift, which I absolutely hate, I loathe that is the standstill key. Having your pinky on shift means that it's like curled down, your hands kind of twisted, and sitting like that for a long time, I feel is just brutal. Brutal. You will hurt yourself if you're playing for a lot like that.
Key being my actual spacebar. So it's easy to
yeah, that's pretty
anywhere.
viable. I know a lot of people that use that as well. I think that's a good one too. Great question, man. I love that question. I love talking about my keyboard setup, in case you couldn't tell.
Any kind of mouse, by the way? Any brand of mouse you're using there, or keyboard, like a mechanical keyboard?
Yeah, I'm using a Razer Death Adder at the moment. I've had this for like since I started StarCraft, and I've had this same mouse since I started StarCraft. Like the mouse cable is like all sticky taped and stuff now because it had been fraying and stuff. But the mouse itself has been fantastic. It's just like super simple. It's just got 2 side buttons and the normal buttons, but it's very comfortable and has been very reliable. The keyboard's a Razer Black Widow, like a backlit one because I like to play in the dark. But it's okay. I wouldn't say it's exceptional. It's nowhere near as good as the mouse. And it feels a little bit clunky when you first start to use it compared to other mechanical keyboards, but yeah, it seems to work alright. I'm still not happy with the keyboard.
Did you get the Razer footprints as well?
I did not get the Razer footprints. I do think they're an abomination.
Yeah.
No, nice. I've got a Death Adder as well, and I actually recently upgraded to the 2013 edition, and it's actually the same goodness, but they've kind of increased the bar a bit. It's quite nice.
Just nicer quality, or?
The tactile feel is nice, like the actual plastics on the buttons are nicer, and the side bits where you sort of cling on with your thumb and your finger, it's slightly rubberized, and it's got little dimples on them, so it just feels nice, and it doesn't weigh as much. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. If you've been using the, I think it's the 4G, that was the previous model that they had, or the 3G.
Mine was like a V2 or something, but yeah, if Razer want to send me a free mouse, I'd definitely do that. But I would be afraid to try a different mouse now after playing with this one so long. So maybe I'd upgrade to the newer version of the same model. Would be pretty nice. But yeah, I'm not looking to upgrade my gear in a while yet because can't really afford that sort of thing. But hopefully I'm holding out on the hope that someone's going to send me some freebies soon. It happens very rarely, but hopefully it happens at some point.
So you've kind of mentioned a few times you're on this budget, and obviously in Australia, and we don't really have that sort of esports scene. So how do you see the sort of gaming industry in Australia, and do you think it's going to grow enough to support competitive esports?
Like, our biggest problem has always been our size in terms of supporting an esports community. Like, you know, we have comparatively like as much space as the US, but much less people in that space. And in the US, you know, people like will hold a esports event in one state, and people will come from neighboring states to go visit it and such. But that just can't really happen in Australia that much. Like we'll always have a kind of a thriving smaller scene in terms of esports. But yeah, I don't see it ever growing too much apart from the online component of it. But in terms of like professional people like gaming and doing what I do, like full-time gaming and streaming and YouTubing, I think that has a lot of potential. We're in a point now where if you're able to get in now, if you have any aspirations to do this yourself, now's a fantastic time to do it. And this is before the NBN is in place. And with the NBN being up and in the air, that's a little bit concerning. But if you can get in before that sort of happens and before it's accessible for everyone to start streaming, then I think there's a lot of potential for a lot of Australian people to reach out. The global community really enjoys Australian commentators and stuff as well. We have it's an endearing accent. People enjoy it from an accent point of view, but it's also really easy to understand. So people from a lot of other countries, and people especially with English as a second language, have an easier time with either an English or an Australian accent rather than a US accent. So that's why a lot of ESL teachers overseas are Australian. And I think from like a commentator point of view or someone streaming and stuff like that, it's really appealing. So we have that going for us at least. And hopefully with some NBN access soon, streaming will be a big thing as well.
Hang on, I'll be back. I'm just going to tell the wife about my career change.
Good stuff, good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to stream Twitch, but we just don't have the upload speed to support it.
I certainly know that feeling. I want to stream so badly. The 2 times that I've streamed, and keep in mind, this was like 100p, 1 FPS stream of my web browser. I wasn't able to play any games or anything. I had 1,200 viewers, one of them, and it was just so fun, like talking to people and doing that live interaction. Like, I love answering the comments on YouTube, but it's still not quite, it's not quite live, even if I'm answering them like 30 seconds after they posted sometimes. But having that live interaction with people and being able to bounce ideas off them and get a lot of feedback is amazing. Something I'm super keen to get onto. But yeah, NBN thing is the issue. 0.8 megabytes just doesn't cut it, and that's what I'm currently on. But as for myself, I'm looking for a house in an NBN area at the moment. Trying to get one. Hopefully I'll be able to start streaming myself soon.
Fantastic.
That does seem to be a solution. Good luck.
Thanks.
So yeah, back to you, Casey. Do we need to sort of wrap things up, or?
Yeah, we're starting running out of some time. We're a bit late starting, but we've still got a few more minutes.
Yeah, that's fine.
So another question we had here was, what do your friends, family, contemporaries think of your decision to become a full game content producer for games? You know, streamer, YouTuber.
They've always been pretty supportive of me doing whatever I want to do or think is right, but a lot of my family certainly don't understand it. Like, they're starting to understand it a bit more now, and I'm describing it. And now that I'm sort of earning like a full-time wage and kind of, you know, occasionally communicating that fact to them, and like, you know, I might get like a sibling or something, like say something like, "When are you getting a real job?" And I say, "Well, what's the difference between what I do now? If I went and got a full-time retail job now, I'd probably actually be earning less and doing something I hate." So I think they're starting to get that message now. But my family's always been really independent. Like, we've all been allowed to sort of just do our own thing, and lots of trust there. And I guess they've been pretty supportive when I've needed it and that sort of thing. So no real problems there. But you definitely do run into people that just don't get it. And like, applying for houses now, there's people that just don't get it. They're like, "What do you do for a living? How are you earning money?" And even when I show them, like, here's this statement of me about to be paid a normal amount of money, enough to afford this house, I still think maybe sometimes they're a little bit unsure about it. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of unsurety about it from a lot of people. But I've never really, apart from random internet commenters, I've never really had people think what I was doing was stupid or hate what I was doing.
Fantastic. I do want to sort of relate back to your answers there in that question as we head to our sign-off, because I think there's some really relative stuff there. But we've just got one other question to sort of sidetrack off to. What other games are you playing at the moment? Obviously, you've spent time in StarCraft 2 and now the beta for the Reaper of Souls. But you're also starting to look at Hearthstone and Star Citizen. Any other games as well? Yeah,
I've definitely been playing lots of Reaper of Souls beta. It's pretty fun. It's showing promise. I don't know how long it'll keep my attention for over Path of Exile, but we'll see. It'll definitely be something I can play in the lead up to launch and for a month or two after that. I did play quite a bit of Hearthstone, but I haven't really gotten back into it recently, so I really enjoyed it. It's a pretty sweet game, but yeah, just haven't been playing that so much. I have been sort of gearing up to play some older games, some older flight games, and Free Space. I recently bought Free Space 1 and 2 from Good Old Games, and I'm getting a flight stick for Christmas, so I'm super psyched to get into these old games that are like some of my favourite games of all time, and do some sick dogfighting, this time with a flight stick, whereas when I was younger I was using a keyboard and mouse and it was pretty rubbish. But I'm looking forward to doing that. And along a similar sort of sign is there's an upcoming game called Star Citizen that's been crowdfunded, and it's very sort of sandboxy style space MMO that, you know, does a lot of things. It allows you to do sort of what you want, kind of like EVE Online, but more graphical and I guess a bit more involved, less spreadsheety. But I'm kind of looking forward to that. That's probably not till 2015, but that's kind of the thing I'm sort of gearing up to play. Other than that, I like to sort of warm up in the morning by playing a little bit of Osu. That's a Japanese rhythm game. It's kind of like a beat game. You just sort of upload whatever songs in there you want, and it has just these tracks that you sort of like click and stuff. It's like, I guess it's a mouse accuracy sort of thing. That's something I carried over from when I was playing StarCraft. A lot of people use that to sort of build their mouse accuracy for StarCraft. But other than that, I haven't really been playing StarCraft in a long time either, and it's something I want to do more of. But just with the Path of Exile and Diablo and stuff like that being super absorbing, not too much time for other games. I tend to stick to a few games and really in-depthly play them and cover them and that sort of jazz, so I don't play too many other ones.
Fair enough. Fantastic. Okay, well that pretty much wraps up a lot of the official questions and questions about notes we've had written. So I'm just going to throw it open now to the room. If anyone's got any other topics or questions, now's the time. Try not to talk over each other. Just shoot them out.
Yeah, anything's fair game. It'd be awesome.
I have one that was actually asked by someone else, but did the content ID match actually affect you at all on the YouTube?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't yet. And what actually happened with that was I'm with Boom, which is an Australian network, and this is only pretty recent. I've only recently joined them. But apparently they told YouTube to, because Australian was kind of like last on the list to scan Australian YouTubers, and they said you guys should probably hold off until you get it sorted. So I don't think I've actually been subject to the new scans yet, so I haven't had any issues. But even when that does happen, and if that does happen, and if it's not fixed when it does happen, I'm not too worried, because the sort of content I've always made has been pretty content ID friendly. And indeed, like, I only joined a network a few months ago, and before that I was actually dealing with every day. Like, every piece of content I uploaded went through the content ID scan system, so I got really good at avoiding flags. You just over time, like doing it for 2 years, you kind of learn what flags and avoid all that sort of stuff. So I never use any music or trailers or anything like that, and I tend to cover games like Diablo and StarCraft and Path of Exile, where the developers are super YouTube friendly. So I have like a direct letter from Chris and stuff like that, and haven't had too many issues. But the changes in January are pretty concerning, especially because my network has said, despite that good thing that they did, they have said that they'll be making most of their partners affiliates rather than managed, which means that we will be subject to these scans. And this potentially means that things like news videos and such might be delayed by 3 days. And, could you imagine, like, I'm trying to put up like my patch, 1.0.5 Path of Exile video, and it comes up like, 3 days after it's been up. It's just a way to make it super less competitive, because there's some sort of competition between YouTube and streaming, and streamers can get onto everything quicker. The idea with YouTube is that we do it to a higher quality and do it a little bit later, but doing it 3 days later is just way too much. So I'm a little bit nervous by that, but big part of being a YouTuber is being very adaptable and flexible and overcoming these issues, so I think I'll be okay.
How do you manage to implement the feedback you get from your YouTube comments to your actual production?
I try to
process you take?
I try to, wherever I can, if I'm doing something like a series, like the Path of Exile Survival Guide series, rather than recording that all at once and then uploading over time, like a lot of people do with Let's Plays and things like that, I try to do them daily so that whenever I get feedback, I can react to it straight away. But, I don't know, otherwise it's like a lot of the feedback and stuff you'll get will be really harshly worded online, because people have this sort of measure of anonymity, and maybe they just got home from work and are feeling a little bit shitty, and a lot of stuff will come off as trolling, and someone will leave a comment that's like sounds really harsh, and other people will like, come to my defense and sort of bag them out and stuff like that. But I'll actually read their comment and say, hold on, they actually have a legit piece of criticism here, even though it's hidden behind trolling and stuff like that. There's actually something that I can react to here. So I just try and, the biggest advice I can give for anyone when doing anything online is to ignore the tone in which things are presented and just try and get to the what's actually behind it. Because even if people are being absolute pricks to you, sometimes what they're actually saying is pretty legit. So that's kind of the way I feel about that.
Fantastic. Yeah, treat the content, not the tone. Well, that about wraps it up. From our perspective, I'd just like to say on behalf of Aplha Crucis Exiles that thank you very much, Ziggy, for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend with us and answer our questions, and we hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope these become a bit of a regular occurrence, probably every second month or so, and not necessarily with Ziggy, but other guest speakers that we can get through. And yeah, so just thank you very much for your time, and I'll throw over to you in a sec. But you touched on before about this is a living for you. This is how you earn your money, and so how can people help you make more money? What can they do, and where should they go to check out your content?
YouTube's the place to go, just searching ZiggyD, or if you search anything Path of Exile, chances are you'll find my content. I've made a good effort into making sure that is the case. So look for stuff on on YouTube for Path of Exile. Otherwise, recently, like since the launch and just before the launch, I had a lot of my supporters sort of recognize that there was a lot of new players coming to the game, and I had a lot of good content for new players coming to the game. So they shared my content around, and people always say this, like favorite share and all that jazz. But seriously, the word of mouth has been a huge deal for me. I've like quadrupled the amount of people watching my content over the past couple months, thanks to people just sort of sharing it around like that. So that's definitely the biggest thing anyone could ever do for me, is if you see a video and it's helped you, and you're trying to get your friend into the game, or you're trying to help someone else out, or you see someone asking a question on the forums, then sharing that sort of stuff around is the best thing to do. Otherwise, if you just want to find my content, you can go to ZiggyD.tv, that's my website, or just search for me on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. I'm on all of those.
So basically, YouTube traffic helps drive up, or helps keep you streaming?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm able to earn it. I've been fortunate enough to get to the point now where I'm able to earn a living off the ad revenue primarily, so I don't need to rely on donations or anything like that. So just like getting the word of mouth happening and helping that way is the biggest thing you can do, because that sort of growth is going to secure my future more importantly than helping me out now. It's the same sort of idea of give a man a fish or teach him to fish, that sort of thing. Just helping me out long term is helping that growth along.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for coming online on our Mumble server. And
thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. It was really cool. A really cool idea. And I actually do want you to sort of shout out what the guild's about, because even I'm a little bit unsure of what it's all about. I understand it's an Australian guild, but I've had a lot of people ask me, Australian gamers looking for Australian guilds, so you should definitely do a shout out, because I'm going to chuck this up on YouTube at some point.
Sure. Deefa, you can do the guild spill, mate.
The guild spill.
Right.
If you want.
Well, I guess when we realized there was this great game, we started playing it, and we met other players, for me, during open beta, and generally I think there was a lot of consensus among the regulars that we wanted a guild. So when the guild system came into play with release, I kind of just banded up together with a few people I'd met, Casey would be an example, and just sort of thought it would be really great to get people that were playing on our gateway server together in the guild. Because I think something that we can all agree with, being Australians and then playing with other people in different instances around the world, there's a lot of frustration from the people from overseas and from us. So it's really great to find a bunch of people that play the way that we want to play.
And that frustration is just due to latency and ping times, not necessarily personalities, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly.
I figured that.
It's about being able to loot, because really you wanted to do that, free loot for all thing, but it's impossible if your ping's like 300 to Europe or 200 to the US. So really, Casey and ourselves, we love playing the hardcore variant of the game. We love racing. We want to get into PvP when it comes through properly. And we sort of thought we'd try to focus our guild on those three things, and hopefully people would come and join. And we've been really lucky. We've got a great group of people who've sort of joined the guild since the release, and I think we're doing pretty well. But I mean, we can't really tell until we see this sort of guild point system come through. But yeah, no, we've really enjoyed it. And Casey, did you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, so just in brief, sort of Aplha Crucis Exiles, we're Australian Gateway Guild, so for Australian based players, Oceanic based players, but in saying that, we do have a couple of people based in other countries around the world. They just join our guild with the understanding that they're happy to play on the Australian Gateway with us because we're such cool people. Our guild focus is mainly on Nemesis, or the 4-month hardcore leagues, the racing and PvP when that becomes more complete, and helping our members complete all individual challenges, guild challenges, and ladder rankings. And we really promote the idea of being ACE, which conveniently matches our sort of acronym for our guild name, but it's about being active, being competitive, and just being engaged. And that just means playing the game, playing it to improve yourself and the guild, and just being social with us. So that's our philosophy.
Awesome stuff. So you guys are accepting new members, and how can people find you?
Yep. So accepting new members, we've got our guild recruitment page through the PoE website. So if you go to the forums there, the guild recruitment, I think there's a short list of a summary of all the guilds. You can look for us in there, just to search on Aplha Crucis Exiles, or ACE. Or you can find myself in game as KC, or actually SKC will get through to me, or you can find Deefa in game under the name Deefa.
Awesome stuff, and I'll put a link in the description below as well to make it nice and easy.
Fantastic.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast. I really enjoyed. The questions were all really sweet, and you guys are all a pleasure to talk to.
Fantastic. You're welcome hanging out for as long as you want. And anytime you want to come back onto our Mumble or just play with us, feel free to join in. And yeah,
I think I'll definitely do that. I'm looking for some more people to play with, and I do agree. It is nice to be able to just jump on an Australian gate with people. I always like when I feel like farming some docks, and I see, oh, there's an Australian docks farming group. I'm like, definitely, I'll jump on there. Everyone's always super cool. So I'm gonna go have some dinner. But thanks for that, guys. It was awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you.
See you later.
Thanks, Ziggy.